Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another, what I hope to be an exciting discussion today. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm excited to talk about priorities today and reorganizing these. And I'll tell you, well, my inspiration is Sarah Von Brednick today, but it's expect future talks on this because I was just made aware of a couple of really good books that I just know are going to just be like a domino effect for my brain because George McGowan, I think that's how you pronounce his name, does he has a book on essentialism and also one on I forget. Anyway, I'm going to come back to you with that one because this whole idea of priorities, apparently, priorities is a relatively new thing. Pre World War II, the word priority was all there was. And so it was kind of changed because think about it priority, there is only one. Kind of like when people, and I'm totally guilty of this to be honest, when I say, oh, that's my favorite. The word favorite means one, there's only one. You might have like something you like almost as good next, but there's one favorite. Well, it's kind of the same with priorities. There's really one. And so I'm actually really excited to jump into George's book on essentialism. That's my plan for part of my plan for this weekend actually. But for right now, Sarah's talking about restructuring, reordering priorities, and she starts out with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, a quote from her. If you know about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she's actually the death and dying person. That's what most people, at least that's how I think of her. She's about grief, and so I guess that this is going to sort of fit here. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross says, "Learn to get in touch with the silence within yourself, and know that everything in this life has a purpose." I 100% agree. I mean, that just ropes into a whole nother discussion I've had lately with people that including my own inner self is as far as everything that happens to us having has a purpose and a meaning. And even when it's a tough sell, when things are hard or people give you snark or people, I had a situation a few months ago that made no sense. It was really hurtful. And then in the big picture, I brought myself back to that. Life does not happen to us, life happens for us. And once I got a new perspective on that incident that happened, I realized that it just like catapulted me into a new direction, which has been nothing but good ever since. So you look in the retrospect, it doesn't forget, it doesn't no, forgive, yes. That's not what I was going to say. It doesn't give the people a pass for it. It's just when we look at it, like I look at that situation in retrospect, it was just such a big blessing. I mean, not that I want to relive it, but it just launched me into all kinds of good stuff. Like I just joined a mastermind club, which I love, and that really partially came out of that situation. Just the timing was just great to do something new. Just something new. So anyway, here we go. Reordering the priorities. So remember that Sarah is focused specifically on women, though. If you're listening and you don't identify as female, it really doesn't make a difference because even though her focus is that, really, if you're inspired, you're inspired. It doesn't really, gender doesn't really make a difference. So most women, she says, most women I know have only one conscious priority, making it through the day. Boy, that's the truth when you're a young mom for sure. This is a direct result of having been torn in 1,000 different directions in any one 24-hour period for decades. Writer, pilot, life, and mother Anne Morrow Lindbergh calls it the centrifugal forces of today that pull at women. Wow, the centrifugal force thing. I can't help thinking of Disney World and that Mars ride. I got like so nauseous on, and I love rides. I just realized that illusion of landing on Mars was nothing but a big circle. I know a little bit of a a little bit of a squirrel moment, but it does work with what we're talking about because it creates a visual of feeling in an out of control spin that can have you feeling physically sick. So it actually fits really well. And then she says, but acknowledging, recognizing, and reordering our priorities so that they can give purpose to our days is a deeply personal task that we all need to do if we are going to learn how to live by our own lights. And when I was first thinking of the topic today, I got locked into that part of this paragraph because this is what we're talking about. We, excuse me, are all the creators of our own reality, and it can be so difficult to lose touch with that when we allow ourselves to enter into a spin. And I'm saying allow, even though life can just get huge and overwhelming, we are still on some level allowing it. Just like I forget who was saying this to me recently. Might have been Wayne Dyer. I don't remember now. But we're, our excuse is, oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Who's making you busy? There's only one person in charge of your schedule. It's you. Even when things, seem like I can't cut this out, I can't cut that out. When you come right down to it, you are the maker of your own schedule. It's true for all of us. And so really that's sort of like a big look in the mirror if things are, feeling out of control and too much. And obviously I'm not talking about tragedies and things like that. Regular life managing, work life integration, we are in charge of our own life minutes. I mean, that's just the truth. So then, Sarah starts out by touching on, like what we were just saying about pre-World War II, there was no word priorities, did not exist. It was priority because there is only one number one thing. And so she says a priority is anything that is important to you. So pre-World War II, we would say it's the most, not just important, but your number one thing. And this is actually bringing me to something that Will Smith said on an interview I was listening to ages. It's so old now, but and yeah, I actually I really I'm not going to get into his mistakes and all that because we all make mistakes. I really am inspired by he's very clear about how close that he was to his grandmother was his everything. Also his mom and his dad. When he talks about his dad, he does a lot of talking about priorities. And he said that and this is certainly might not work in some context, but I would say it works for most. And he talks about how, like, if he were on a treadmill and somebody else is on another treadmill, one of two things is going to happen. Um, because he will either be the last one standing or he'll be dead lying on top of it because he just doesn't give up. And he talks about plan having a plan A, and he talks about not having a plan B. Now, certainly there's some context in life. I'm thinking of maybe like a young adult just starting to pay for rent, and you want to have a backup plan for if you don't have enough. You got to have like a backup plan for that. But other than that, like these little tiny micro examples, I agree with Will Smith. He says when you have a plan A, you want to go full throttle into plan A. Do not have a plan B because plan B takes away from plan A. And it's interesting because even though I've only been in my master buying group for about a month and a half, they're kind of saying the same thing because and also they're the ones who turned me on to George McGowan's book Essentialism, which I can't wait to start to dive into, hopefully later this afternoon, because I'm really feeling that we only have so much energy in a given day, and where we choose to put our energy is what's going to be successful. I mean, that's just true. If we're splintered off in a million different directions, partitioning our focus and our energy over, 10, 12, 15 different things, they're all only going to be so successful. I mean, that's just how it is. When we go full throttle into, our purpose and our meaning in this life, that's what's going to make it. And then and Sarah says providing your children's education by starting a systematic plan of saving could be a priority. So could increasing your health and vitality through diet and exercise. Achieving financial serenity is another priority for many of us, as is nurturing a family and sustaining a loving, happy marriage. It is very, very true. God, and actually, I just, when the happy marriage part sent me straight to my wonderful husband, way back when we were at St. Mike's. That's where we went to undergrad. This wonderful, most special place in the world in Burlington, Vermont. And I remember him as we were dating, and I don't even know if he used the word marriage. I might have been premature because he knows he might have scared me a little bit. But we were dating, and head over heels for each other. And he said he was even at his young self, like 20 years old, or saying, "Whatever you put first is what is successful." He's like, if that's our relationship, and he was talking about you plural, not like being preachy at me, or you're an athlete. I don't remember the exact words now because we're 57 and 58, but whatever you put first is what's going to make it. Being a parent, and that's kind of together with the marriage, in my opinion. But whatever it is that's number one to you is what's going to obviously make it. I mean, it's just basic logic. And then I like what Sarah has to say here. She says priorities are not written in granite. They need to be flexible and change as we do. Obviously, right? Because maybe maybe you're starting out your job, you're a young adult, or you're having a job switch in your midlife or later life, in the winter of your life or whatever, and that job just isn't filling you up anymore, and it's not bringing you joy and personal growth anymore. Well, there's not a lot of reason. You might want to energetically detach from that while you're looking for something else. And then so this, we have to be flexible and fluid when we're going through transitions where obviously are inevitable in life, right? So she says, I find it helpful to think of priorities as the wooden frame upon which we stretch the canvas of our days so that we may apply color and form to the work of art we are creating without the entire painting collapsing in the middle. Oh, I love that. She makes a lot of artistic references, and I can really appreciate that as a creative. Oh, in a case I mentioned Sarah von Brednick. I don't know if I reminded everyone. I use her a lot because I just think she's amazing. She's the author of Simple Abundance, which is a day book of comfort and joy. And I read it in my 30s, and now I'm reading it in my 50s. And it's just a really cool book. It goes day by day, and she very does a lot with the different seasons and how we're thinking and feeling at the different times of year. And she's just really good. So anyway, she said it takes peace of mind and clarity to recognize and reorder meaningful personal priorities. God, I got to stay right there for a second because we've been talking a lot about clarity recently, and that probably comes from, since I listen to so many people podcasts and I'm reading all the time. Abraham Hicks, and I love her. She's in my friends group too. It does a lot of talk about clarity because think about it like looking through a dirty window, or like a not even like a filthy, well, the filthier, the worse, I suppose, but, like a regular person dirty window, like ours, actually. We don't always get to the sliding glass doors, especially in the winter. In the summer, all of a sudden, you're like, wow, the birds are out there. Wow, I'd like to see them. When we're looking through crystal clear glass, our whole world opens up. So we think of that of the mind. It's very important to have a peace of mind and to clear out the mind attic, which is all that's coming. The mind attic, um, that's a Maria Konnikova statement there. She's the author of Mastermind, actually, which I use in my cognitive psychology class. And it talks about the importance of mindfulness and it being as clear as we can, and as observant as we can of our own lives. And she makes a lot of references to Sherlock. More on her later. So then Sarah says, maybe that is why so many of us procrastinate. But the more our lives and attention spans are segmented by our children, our careers, our homes, our marriages, and our needs for personal expression, the more we need to identify what is truly important in our lives. And you know what? I'm having this wonderfully humble and vulnerable moment right now because I don't I'm in that right now. And part of me is like, ooh, I know better. I know better than that. But that's the ego talking, because honestly, I'm in this right now. To be truthful, the last couple of weeks, I felt like, I just said this to a friend last night. I feel like I'm on a runaway train, and it's exciting. Yet I feel like I gotta regroup and get it together, because and none of it's bad. None of it's bad. I just have a lot of actually really good stuff going on. A lot of projects, a lot of promise, a lot of, prosperity happening, and it's all great. I just feel like, I mean, the universe is actually it's flowing with the abundance right now. I just feel like I'm actually very grateful for this day, because right now, just the day, I know I'm getting off track, but it's actually on track, at least from my own mind. I'm looking through my clear glass window. It's snow, and it's like a wintry mix, which is the nice way to say wintry crap, right? Because it's like it was hailing earlier, now it's sleeting, and I'm so happy to have this peaceful day of remote working, because I really feel like I need this day to restructure and reorganize my own priorities. And so it's interesting how often when I do a podcast, it's often where I'm at also myself, not always, but often. And today is one of those days because I'm absolutely loving everything I'm doing, and yet there are only 24 hours in a day, and I feel like if the good Lord gave me an eighth one, I'd fill it up right now. So this is actually it's also, quite nice for me to have this talk with all of you. So then Sarah continues, and she says, many of us assume that we can continue to get along by just winging it indefinitely. I have to say, I like that sentence. And I have to say also that I have my black belt in winging it. And I do think that it's a lot to do with my wiring or my nature, my fast mindedness or something. Although I think any of us who have our black belts and winging it also know that when she adds the word indefinitely, then that is where we are not always, not necessarily subtly reminded. We can be hit with a brick with it because none of us can wing it indefinitely, even if we're good at it. And then she says we can't. We need an antidote for the hurried and harried lives that threaten to tear us apart. Follow the advice of Anne Morrow Lindbergh and make carving out a small portion of each day for yourself a personal priority. Oh man, she is singing to the choir right now. Quiet time, alone, like I have today. Thank God. I think I was telling my friend last night. Interestingly, she and I get together like peas and carrots. We have lots in common with the love of neuroscience and the mind and well-being and all this stuff. And she was in the same spot. She said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're saying this. I feel like the same way." And both of us are usually pretty on top of our games. We just it's just how it's going right now. So it's just time to regroup. So then it says it can be physical. Wait a minute. Quiet time alone, contemplation, prayer, music, a centering line of thought or reading, of study or work. Okay, these are the boxes I have checked today. Quiet time alone, though I'm not really alone because I have little Giovanni on the show. He just looked up at me. He just looked up at me and heard his name. Little Giovanni, the golden retriever, is taking a snooze on the chair, so I'm not really alone. In fact, I'm wonderfully not alone because I have him here. Contemplation, that is on my that's in my day. I'm going down to the Zen Den shortly to do some nice mind work. Also prayer. I pray every single day of my life. Music may be in my future this afternoon. And then a centering line of thought or reading, which we are all doing together right now because Sarah Von Brednek is just wonderfully centering and grounding, at least for me. And then of study or work. And I've also got some grading to do today for students and some planning for some well-being stuff, and I enjoy all that. So I guess technically it's work, but I don't. I just said to a different colleague at Champlain the other day because she asked me why do I work on weekends, and I said, well, I guess because I don't consider anything as being work if it brings me joy, and which the high majority of what I do at Champlain brings me joy. I mean, every once in a while is like a data thing, which is absolutely totally unenjoyable to me, but thankfully not that frequent. But yeah, every single thing I do with this do with and for my students brings me joy, and also with my amazing colleagues. I'm very, very blessed to be there for sure. And then what does she say here? It need not be oh, it can be physical, intellectual, or artistic. And I need art in my life, I'll tell you that right now. Any creative life proceeding from oneself. So and creating our lives also involves a lot of creativity. So and then she says it need not be an enormous project or a great work, but it should be something of one's own. Arranging a bowl of flowers. Oh, I can't believe she said that. I love doing that. Arranging a bowl of flowers in the morning can give a sense of quiet in a crowded day. I didn't arrange a whole bowl of flowers, but my wonderful husband brought me home the most exquisite red roses for Valentine's Day. And even if though it's not making arrangement because they're all the same, it's a dozen. I love just sort of making them symmetrical and full, and then I give them a huge big sniff when I'm all done. It's kind of like the reward for and also I also love to decorate, not just for the biggies, like for us it's Christmas, let's say Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. For Valentine's Day, in fact, I got to take that stuff down because we got red and pink hearts all over the place, and Valentine lights. St. Patrick's Day, I usually decorate for Mardi Gras. There were a bunch of years in a row when the kids were little that I decorated for Chinese New Year, and it's to just and it doesn't take me long. It takes me maybe an hour. Christmas is different; that's bigger, but like the Valentine's Day, the Mardi Gras, I have it all in separate little boxes and bags, and to just putter around and do all that is wonderfully creative. And the kids talk about it as being such a fun part of their childhood. It didn't take much. I would wait, they'd go to school, and I would just whatever, it's St. Patrick's Day, whatever, and I'd have it all. When they got home, there's shamrocks everywhere and little ceramic things and leprechauns sitting on the mantle, and they just kind of remember that. And the creativity is wonderfully, that goes into it is so peaceful and relaxing. And so whatever that is for you, I like that Sarah says it doesn't have to be, you don't have to drag out a canvas and do this, phenomenal oil painting, though you can do that if that's your thing. But even just the everyday stuff and, painting a wall a new color and doing it well, rearranging, maybe taking down some old pictures that you're tired of looking at, and putting up some brand new art that you bought. I did that not that long ago with because I'm a nutty skier, and we painted the dining room, and I said, I'm kind of sick of looking at and it was nice stuff we had in there, but like I'm done with it now. And I put it in a box. I figured out I'll do with that later. And I put up these beautiful um, pictures. It's a set of 4, and it's simple because that's all I have up there now. It's very simple, and they're red gondolas, for skiing. And I got them on Amazon for like $70, and I've had so many compliments on them. I've spent my whole day, like not my whole day, because it wouldn't take a whole day, but let's say a few hours anyway, because I wanted to arrange them so they're exactly right. Then that had me moving some other stuff around. So there you go. Just to do something in your day that just makes you so incredibly happy. And then lastly, Sarah says, what matters is that one be for a time inwardly attentive. I cannot say enough about being inwardly attentive. And it's not just me. You listen to Joe Dispenza, he's another new friend. Oh, definitely Oprah, my bestie as far as my great thinker group, right? It's all about the inner life. We win from within. So to take some time, prioritize what we're talking about, and going inward and paying attention to doing what makes your heart sing. And then she says, today, make getting in touch with the silence within yourself your first priority. Let's say that again. Today, make getting in touch with the silence within yourself your first priority. As you do, you will be amazed at how everything else seems to find its own order. And like I'm telling you, I'm not being falsely, I don't even have it in me to be false for at all. I am being very genuine about how I am very inspired by what Sarah Von Brednek has to say today. I am very okay with very humbly admitting that I'm feeling a little bit like a runaway train today and that I need this day. And I have no problem sharing that because, being in this vulnerable place where we can wrap around, what makes us human, which is all good stuff, right? It's all good stuff. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to prioritizing my own inner life on this day and continuing to find quiet and contemplation and to make some time in this day. I'm going to say to putter, just to putter and rearrange. That's what I'm feeling I want to do today. It's just maybe get rid of some stuff. I might even just organize a sock drawer. I don't really know. I'll give a shout out to my new friend Jennifer about that one. She sent me a nice card. She's from Shelburne, Vermont, and reminded me about the importance of organizing your space and prioritizing that for your own peace of mind. There we go. So this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful, very snowy northern Vermont. Have a mindful, peaceful, and serene day.